and welcome to Indo GAA with me, Michael Verney. We'll be here every Tuesday to review all the action and preview a bit of the action for the coming weekend. Delighted to be joined once again by John Mullane. And a new season, John, and you have the AirPods for the new season.
I said, Verney, Santa was good to me, so yeah, I said we throw them out for season 2025. So yeah, they're snazzy enough, so I'm happy enough for them, yeah.
You have to evolve as every season goes on. You have to have, add a new trick to the book or whatever it is. So this is your trick. The sound will be coming through loud and clear from Mullane in the van.
The man in the van is back for season 2025. Yeah.
John,
I can reassure people I do live in a house, so okay.
That's a question that's often put to me at grounds around the country. Does Mullane live in the van, or does he have, a setup in the back? Is it an Airbnb in the back, or what's the scenario exactly? But I can assure you that John lives in Waterford City in a house, not in the van. The van is his day job. But John, it was obviously the kickoff of the league over the weekend. Probably not maybe as high profile of a weekend, just maybe with the football rules and all that, but plenty of action all the same. Just before we talk about the games, even just the structure of the league itself, like there's a lot more on the line, shall we say. There's a lot more jeopardy as well than before with the 7 in 1A and 7 in 1B. I know it probably hasn't maybe heated up yet, but there is a hell of a lot more on the line for teams. Like the idea of dropping down to 1B for the teams in 1A is a big deal. Same as the teams from 1B getting up to 1A. There's a lot more jeopardy. I would say a lot more on the line in this year's league. Of course, straight to league finals, no league semi-finals as well. So it's a fairly cutthroat league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think was it back to... Remember, there were 6 teams. Was it back in 2013? I think, and we seen how much of a success that was. And then you had the follow-on. We had a cracking championship, and I think it was a 2013. Both the bottom 2 teams in the league back then was both Clare and Cork. But they played in the relegation.
They played in a relegation match, I think, that went to extra time and then ended up playing the All Ireland. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Cork was Cork put down Clare, or I think Cork went down or Clare went down.
Just my memories. I've got baby brain anyway since I became a father, so I'm not 100%. But I think it was after extra time anyway. I'm not sure. We'll come back to that and find out who won it. Yeah,
and I suppose look, similar could play out. But obviously, look, you've the follow on of this league campaign, and is going to be that you're going to be following into effectively another league campaign, whether it be the Munster round robin or the Leinster round robin. But it's a great opportunity for managers to blood players, find out a bit more about their panel, try and unearth, 3 or 4 players that you would think then will push on and, will probably try and go and stake a claim for a spot, or, will try and be maybe an impact sub. It can vary what managers will want to get out of it. Ultimately, I would think the majority of managers will want to win 3 or 4 matches, hold on to their Division 1A status for 2026. And I think you might see then if teams, can secure the 3 or 4 wins, that there might be a bit of a drop off then. They might start, trying out a few more players, particularly when you're coming to the latter end of this league campaign, coming into March. And I suppose then you're kind of have the gap then of 3 or 4 weeks to the championship. But if teams do find themselves under pressure and you don't get a couple of early wins, early doors, well, then they're going to probably have to kind of, home in the last couple of games and say, well, look, lads, we've got to go and secure 2 or 3 wins to secure that status for 2025. Then obviously, I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 teams will probably target going after league success. I would imagine Tipperary would be one of those teams. I think Cork, wouldn't turn their nose up to league success.
Just on that, Mull, on Cork, right? So Cork haven't won a league since 1998, and there's always been the talk they're not a league team or whatever. Like Pat Ryan has already, I'd say, ripped up the script a bit in Cork already. Like they look like a different team. I think they'd nearly be going gung-ho for a league. Like look at Limerick won the league in 2023, won the All Ireland. Clare won the league in 2024, won the All Ireland. Like there's actually a correlation now between a good league run and a good championship run. Like I think if Cork got success and got a cup in the middle of the dressing room, I think it'd be huge for them even going forward for the rest of the year.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Totally echo that. I think it will be massive for him, and ultimately as well, what it does as well, albeit it's league, it's probably, you probably don't celebrate it the way you would probably a Munster or a Leinster success. But Michael, and I know, you're involved in any team. Winning breeds winning. Going up those steps, collecting a trophy, bringing a trophy back, bringing silverware back to your county. You can't beat that, and that builds on the feel good factor. Within a camp, within a setup, it also helps the spirit of a group. And you just touched on Cork. I think the depth of Cork's panel allows them to go and have a crack every week. Obviously they're going to be out there's going to be 6 weeks. There's obviously going to be one gap week. But the array of talent that they have within their camp from play 1 to 36, I don't think on any given weekend, Cork, no matter what 15 Pat Ryan throws out there, if he's resting up a few players, that they'll be weak. And that was evident last weekend against, albeit a Wexford team that were depleted of big names through injury, and depleted of big names who retired. And you need to look at Cork's bench last week. You had Hoggy on the bench, you had Lahan, you had Harnedy, you had Eaton Toomey. And what it also allows Pat Ryan as well is that he can leave the Fitzgibbon Cup lads off to their own accord and say, look, lads, you go off, focus on your Fitzgibbon, and then come back to us, and we'll throw you in for a couple of league games midstream. So absolutely, if you were to ask me now, I think the team that will probably really go after a league and will really want to go down the same route as Clare done last year, Limerick the previous year, would be Cork, most certainly, yes.
Just on, you were down there, Mull, on Saturday evening. You have to take in the caveat of all the players that Wexford are missing. But listen, they're going to be missing. Matt O'Hanlon is retired now. Liam McGovern is retired, and Dermot O'Keefe is retired as well. Obviously, without Lee Chin, I think he's abroad at the minute. He's in Australia at the minute. But Cork were in conditions that wouldn't be, shall we say, they wouldn't be normally conducive to the free flowing hurling that we see from Cork. They were very, very good the other night, very dominant really from start to finish. And they're a lot more physical now. They're a lot more abrasive than maybe we would have associated with them a couple of years. We'd always associate them with nice kind of dandy hurlers, lovely skill. But I think, and you don't want to read too much into a round one game, but they were very, very dominant the other night. And even Pádraig Power, a player that we didn't see anything of last year, it looked like Pat Ryan was going to give him a good go in 2023. He started nearly all the league games. He finished at 1-4 the other night. He was out last year, but he's a fella that definitely put his hand up. And as you said there about depth, by God, they have fair depth to their squad.
Yeah, the one standout thing for me was their physicality. There was one, I was just going on for a cup of tea at half time, and one Wexford supporter, he made a remark. It was men against boys, and physically it was men against boys, and that's probably something that's been thrown at Cork over the years. Was that they weren't at the same level of, say, a Limerick or a Kilkenny in the physical stakes. And I'd be friendly with Duck O'Rourke, who would be following the Cork setup. Now I wouldn't. Obviously, I'd leave him off. But one thing he did tell me, within the last year is that, they've really gone after, homing in on the S&C side of it. Whilst before, I think some of the players probably, would have been left of their own accord and, go off and, do your S&C, or you have your program. But now I think they've gotten a new S&C guy in there within the last 2 years. I don't know what the chap's name is, but I think now they do it collectively as a group, and it's monitored, and you can see clearly that the results are starting to show, in their physical development. And look, that was evident even last year, when they went toe to toe against Limerick in both those games. And you compare that to when they met the previous All-Ireland in 2021. Physically they were overpowered against Limerick. So yeah, I think that's an area where Cork have really, really homed in, and it's evident to see that they they are getting rewarded for whatever work that they are putting in. And you've just touched on it then. I mean, the personnel, you know, when you think of Pádraig Power coming in, you know, this guy we didn't even see last year. I think he was out through injury. Another lad that's really going to put his hand up for a place this year. Cormac O'Brien, wing back. You've seen Melrick back. Jared Melrick. I really like Melrick, and I think he's probably been extremely unlucky with injuries the last couple of years. And I think if he can stay injury free, I think he would be a big player for Cork. Whether he'll start or, you know, you have the backup of knowing that, hey, you know, we've a good man to come in and challenge for a place, or if anyone gets injured, or if anyone is going poorly, you know, it's the next guy in could be Jared Melrick. But yeah, it's the array of talent that they have. I mean, you go through their panel 1 to 30, 1 to 36, and there's probably even lads, you know, outside the 1 to 36. Even when Pat Ryan goes to pick his panel, probably 1 or 2 lads that probably may have to be left off, that probably, you know, would probably get into any other inter-county side. But big test for him now Saturday night. Will be interesting to see, and really looking forward to that one. I think it'll be a good gauge to where, albeit we're still in the month of January, but will be a good gauge to see where Cork and Limerick are at present, you know.
I'll come back to Cork and Limerick in 1 second. What I thought was quite telling from Cork in the off-season is, I think Darragh O'Leary aside, who had a big club run with Watergrass Hill, who won the All-Ireland Intermediate, they have the exact same squad as last year, as in no personnel has stepped away. And then you have, let's say, Ben Cunningham thrown back into the fold, Pádraig Power, Micheál Mullins, Brian Saunderson, all these lads. Who am I thinking of as well? Dermot Healy. All this, like the array of talent that they have is outstanding, really. And then you're looking at it from the flip of that. Like Wexford are under pressure before a ball was pucked. They were under pressure. They have a lot of rookies at the minute, Mull, in comparison to, would say, a lot of the other big hitters. There could be a bit of pain, you'd imagine, throughout the league, particularly if they're going to be missing Chin, and we don't know how long more he's going to be missing for. Like there was a gulf in physicality the other night. Just Cork lads who've been through the system 5 or 6 years, and a couple of Wexford lads who've only been in the system the last couple of years, and They're probably Division 1A place is probably under serious threat. They play Tip this weekend, and if they don't get a result there, they're really on the back foot.
Yeah, I think Chin he came back in last Friday. I think he was in Australia for a period of time. But you go through it. I mean, Matt Johanlin, Dee O'Keefe, Liam McGovern, Liam Ryan, their fullback, is out at the moment. Damien Rick, Chin, Conor MacDonald. I mean, that's the spine of your team. And Wexford, a bit like Waterford, you know, they can ill afford to be down that type of personnel, and you know, they just don't have the personnel, lads to step up and take over from those boys. So you're 100% right. It could be a very, very challenging league for Keith Rossler, and it's unfortunately for Wexford the weekend, it's not going to get any easier for them. You know, they go up to Tipperary, you know, a red hot Tipperary team right now. So yeah, I think you're 100% right. It could be a difficult league campaign for Wexford, and I think Wexford supporters, you know, they can't be too downbeat about, you know, what could unfold over the next couple of weeks. I think they've just got to accept it, that, you know, it is what it is at the moment. And I think from a Keith Rossler and his management's point of view, if they get a couple of sticky results in the next couple of weeks, which I'm probably predicting they will, considering the personnel that they are down, they've just got to stick with it. They've just got to build towards that Leinster Championship, you know.
Mull, a quick one. You mentioned Limerick and Cork this weekend. We're probably looking at probably 25,000 plus by all accounts going to the park, maybe more. Can you explain to me now how Limerick and Cork, who threw up 2 unbelievable championship games last year, and this is Limerick's first game of this league campaign, and it's probably the biggest game so far of the league campaign. Can you explain to me how this has not been broadcast anywhere? Can you give me the rationale of why this game has not been broadcast on television anywhere, and we won't be able to see it until we see the highlights in the Sunday game?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So TG4 or
No,
RT don't have it.
TG4 of football, 2 football games Saturday night. Donegal and Dublin is the marquee event. But like we're missing a trick here. Surely we are missing a trick.
Yeah. And considering you go back to all of 7-8 months ago, probably two out of the 3 best hurling games of the year last year were definitely both Limerick and Cork games, and throwing the All Ireland final. So yeah, I mean, from a marketing point of view, if you were a sponsor of either of those teams, and I mean, even from a player's point of view, trying to get exposed at the highest level, even from kids watching on, and you're trying to promote the game even more. You're 100% right. I mean, look, you'd ask the questions sometimes, oh, how is this happening? And I think that's only a question that the powers to be can answer, or but most certainly, I mean, the top 2 teams, and probably top 2 out of the 3 teams, or top 2 out of the 4 teams in the country, and it's not being televised the weekend. I mean, that's a failure for whoever or whoever should be held accountable for that. Like, that shouldn't be allowed to happen. Like, and I mean, they knew as far out as a couple of weeks ago that this was going to be a big draw. And I don't know, Michael, does it go back to trying to get bums on seat early doors, and the ticket prices are going up to 20. The kids are a fiver in, and
Mull, I know you have
is there someone trying to play the cue card here and say, right, we won't televise it on TV, knowing that, hey, you know what, we'll draw in 20,000-30,000 people into the match, and if it's not on the TV, even people that don't follow either county will or neutrals will still want to go to the game. And if they're saying it's 25,000, 30,000 on a Monday, Tuesday, that could easily hit 35, 40,000. So maybe that could be in the thinking as well.
You've brought up there, and it's, listen, we haven't met, shall we say, since the All Ireland final debrief last year. But the fiver for kids going into games, just talk to me about that. I know you have strong enough opinions on that.
Yeah, well, look, I've listened on, and to other former players. Fair play to TJ Ryan, he called it out, and he was asking, could this be reversed? Yeah, I just think for the last 40, 50 years, anytime you went to a league campaign, anytime you went to a league game, you went to a league game, I went to a league game. I mean, we're hearing it was for, safety concerns, that you had to go and sit alongside your parent. And Jesus, there wasn't too many kids, there wasn't health and safety taken into it in Ennis last week, where, kids were just allowed to, where in the non-seating area, kids were allowed to go wherever they wanted. And I just think, look, I don't want to be one of these lads that's always constantly banging the drum about money and this and that. And look, we all know there has to be money generated from somewhere. But I just think, €20 is possibly too much. I think €15 was ample enough, and leaving the kids in free. And we've got to remember we've got a Munster campaign coming down as well, which is going to be probably another 4 or 5 games. That's before you could get onto your All Ireland series.
More games than ever before, Mull. Like more costs.
More cost, and it's. I mean, if you've 2 parents and 2 or 3 kids wanting to go to a league game now, you're talking what, 50, €60, but that's before you even have a cup of coffee or have a sandwich. So to go and watch a league game, which some of these games might be dead rubbers, there mightn't be anything at stake. Some of the teams might be going ho as we seen last week. I just think it's a bit too much to be asking for, and I think I think they might have to look at it going forward. And time will only tell. Whether with attendance figures, but judging by the weekend, they're going to have a big crowd down in Cork, So they'll make plenty of money there.
Yeah, I just can't get my head around it because I know lads from home that would go to say an Offaly League game and he'd bring his own young fella, but he'd bring three other young fellas, friends of his young fellas, and he'd fill the car or whatever, and it was easy because they would just come in with him, whatever. Now there's a charge on them, and I just think you're making it more difficult for people to go to games, which I just don't see the sense in that. And I think that the health and safety thing is a catch-all thing that you can just throw out now, and it's like, sure, it's health and safety, but like I don't know if there's much legitimacy to that, really.
Well, you look at some of the Division 1B games, and I'm not being too downbeat on some of the Division 1B teams, but you take it Waterford and Carlow the weekend, and look, geez, I've got to be very, very careful here because Carlow got a great result, and I think that will be a sticky game for Waterford the weekend up in Carlow. But if you have two parents and you have two kids going off in the car to watch Waterford and Carlow, and expect them to put diesel in the car, go up. Some lads might have a pint or two or have a cup of coffee, get a bite to eat. You're asking them to go in and pay €50 if you have two kids and two adults to go in and watch Waterford at Carlow, in the month of January. That's too much.
Yeah, no, I would echo that. Hopefully it'll be something they might look at in time and reverse it. Like, I know that when I make a mistake, I'll put my hands up and say, listen, that was the wrong call, and I'll reverse it. And people will generally be very sympathetic to it and say, I always admire when someone admits that they made a mistake, or even an organisation admits they make a mistake. So hopefully there'll be a rollback on this. I probably can't see it, being honest with you, but hopefully they will look at it in time. Mull, one of the other standout results of the weekend, I definitely wasn't expecting this. From reading your column in The Independent on Saturday, I'm not sure if you were either. Down in Salt Hill, it was Tipperary 325, Galway 216. There is probably pressure on Liam Cahill this year. It's his third year. There's a big rebuild going on, a lot of new faces in, the likes of Michael Corcoran, Sam O'Farrell, Darren McCarthy, who's a very exciting talent, Andrew Ormond. This was, to say a good start is half the battle. This was a good start for Tipperary, and maybe a good result maybe to get some bums on seats, particularly for their home games in Thurles, because there hasn't been in recent years.
Yeah, well, I think, look, we touched on it. Now, look, you know me now, Verney. I mean, within the last 2 years, there's been no one has fought the case of Liam Cahill any more than me. I'm a big admirer of Liam Cahill, and I suppose after last year, 2024, I suppose going off the back of the Munster campaign results, going off of seeing what your eyes are seeing particularly when Tipperary played Cork, the Tipperary public have clearly voted that they're not going to go and get behind this team. And then, you throw in, I suppose, when a lot of lads retiring. And then, as I touched on the weekend, Cathal Barrett being, excluded or being culled from the panel. I think that brings more pressure. But I think there's only one way you can answer that, and as you just touched on there, and rightly so, to try and get the tip public right back behind you again, and to kind of dilute the talk that surrounding Cathal Barrett, whether it was the right call or the wrong call, is by winning hurling matches, and they were very, very good the weekend. Now, was I surprised in the result? I was surprised in the manner of how they won the match and the manner of, the defeat for Galway. I didn't think it would be by that big of margin, but I'm not surprised that they've really hit the ground running because, I've seen time and time again that, Liam Cahill coach teams or Mikey Bevins coach teams, even go back to Waterford, they do be flying at early doors in the league, and I would expect that they will kick on the weekend and win the weekend and I would be thinking that they will have a really good league campaign, and I wouldn't be one bit surprised that they will finish in the top two. And I think getting to a league final would be very, very beneficial to Liam Cahill and this Tipperary panel and the Tipperary management. And with that, I suppose that might attract, more of the people that are probably talking against Liam Cahill or talking down the team, to get them back on board. But as I touched on, Michael, it was interesting Liam's comments in the aftermath of the match.
He didn't spare the supporters, did he?
You've got to be very, very careful of that. I mean, I don't know if it would have went. Me personally, look, I was never a manager. You were never a manager. I only come from a player's point of view, and I can only speak from a player's point of view. I don't know if that was a great, a great idea to go down that road, and to go on the attack straight away.
Yeah, just for anyone that didn't hear the comments, it was basically that Tipperary supporters need to get out to games, need to show a bit of bravery, and not just show up to All-Ireland semi-finals and finals as they have been for the last decade or so. And he just said that the knowledgeable Tip public will be forgiven of the transition that's going on, but the less knowledgeable Tip hurling folk will not be. And it was fairly it was like attack.
Yeah, and like I would have went the other way. I would have said, I wouldn't have used the non-knowledgeable term for all the world, because at the end of the day, Michael, I mean, everyone is going to have an opinion. I mean, you even look at this show, people have an opinion, whether it be with you or against you, and everyone is entitled to their opinion. And that's what makes us love this game so much, is because the difference in opinion, and whether you're knowledgeable or non-knowledgeable, for all that word, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I just thought I just think early doors, I wouldn't have went down that road, because yourself, Michael, it can turn in a heartbeat, and one or two bad results can swing the other way. So yeah, it will be very interesting. Look, we seen last year, even that one bad performance in the league semi-final last year against Clare. I mean, that off the back of a relatively good, decent league campaign, and that one bad result, then next thing, all of a sudden, it's like a deck of cards. It can come down fairly quickly. But I what I do like is I like the bit of personnel that he has thrown in. I like to look at that young Welsh Armin. I think is a good bit of stuff. Darren McCarthy's is we all know about Darren McCarthy from the under-20 and his minor years. Sam O'Farrell, the other lad in cornerback,
Michael Corcoran, yeah, good player.
Yeah, we're just getting to know these lads' names. So yeah, look, I think all Tip and all Liam Cahill can do right now is continue to win matches, and as he said, try and build a bit of momentum, try and build a bit of feel good factor within the setup. And look, I'll bang the drum, and I'll keep banging the drum. Liam Cahill, unfortunately, he could be a bit unfortunate that he could be laying the blocks or laying the foundation for probably someone else to come in and build on that, because there's no doubt Tipperary are coming. They've some exceptional talent coming through underage. Even look at the Harty Cup, the colleges, their underage success. There's an array of good young talent coming through, and but look, I think he deserves time. I think the Tipperary County Board. I think I touched on last year's pod. I think they should get behind him, and I think the Tipperary public should get behind Liam Cahill this year, and get back bums on seats and get behind Liam Cahill and his team. But Yeah, I just think with the comments, and I just think with the Carl Barrow one was a strange one. What did you make of it yourself?
Yeah, no, like I think from an opposition point of view, I think Barrett is a player you hate to see against you, and he just lifts the crowd, and he's real abrasive, and I love a player like that because it's very rare that a cornerback can turn the momentum of a game, but I think he can. I thought that was a strange one, being honest with you. It's very similar.
Yeah,
It's very similar, as you said in your column, to the Noel Connors and Maurice Shanahan kind of axe that he wielded in Waterford. But time will tell. Cottle is not retired or anything like that, and he's hoping to get back in, so that'll be an interesting one. But just on rebuilds and transition, well, a brief word on Galway. That was probably a bit of an eye opener for Galway the other day.
yeah. I think it looks a baptism of fire of the job that Micheál Donoghue has gone forward with this with this Galway setup. But I wouldn't be too downbeat. I would you believe out of all the teams, I'm kind of excited to see where this kind of Galway project is going to go
I'd have a
under.
lot of faith in him, Mull. I'd have a lot of faith in
Yeah,
Donoghue and Franny Ford, Noel Larkin, Aidan
yeah.
Hart. I've a lot of faith in them now. I think they'll be in very good shape in 18 months'
S-
time. I'll put it to you that way.
So do I, and I mean, you only have to see it in such a short space of time. Leave aside the Leinster final last year against Kilkenny. He done a reasonably good job with Dublin, and you know, God, I know there's after being a couple of McInerney's gone and Cooney is gone and Adrian Toohey, but there's still an enormous amount of good talent within Galway and good young exciting talent, and I think come May June. I think they'll be right in the mix. And look, whether we like it or not, if you asked Derek Ling right now, who'd be the one team you'd fear most going into this year's Leinster Championship, he'd say Galway all day long because Galway have the personnel and if they can get the mix and the match right, and I think and I've listened to the new chairman, is it John Bell or John Bellew, is it?
Paul Bellew.
Or Paul Bellew. I really like him. Really like I've listened to him on one or two podcasts. Really, really like him. I think he's well tuned in. I think himself and Donoghue and Donoghue's backroom team working together with Bellew. I don't think it'll be Galway supporters will have too long a wait before they'll be back competing again at the highest level. And yeah, I think even come look, let's see what plays out. I think it's what will Micheál Donoghue want to get out of this league campaign. He'll be one of those managers that will want to win three matches, blood a couple of players, try and find a couple of players. One player that I was impressed with the weekend was Loan. Is it
Oisin Lohan,
Oisin
yeah,
Loan?
yeah, big fella.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had that kind of Johnny Glynn kind of, you know, mix about him, like, big, tall, rangy player, well able to hurl good on the ball. So yeah, I think even when he gets back all these big players, bloods a couple of players, young. It was great to see your man, young McLaughlin come on the weekend. Great to see Kevin Cooney back the weekend. I think young Nyland. I think he's out. Is he?
He was
He's
togged.
out.
He was togged. I think. Like I was going through who was missing. Evan
No, no,
Island.
no.
Oh,
The
Aaron.
other Aaron Nyland.
Yeah,
Like he's coming back from hamstring injury. Is
that's
he?
right. Yeah, that's right. Come
So
back from injury. Yeah.
come May or June, he could be right to blood in come May or June. So I'm really excited to seeing where this Galway project is going to go under Donoghue, and you know what, it might happen sooner than you think. I think when he gets a proper go at this, and has all his personnel back, has everyone on board, and has everyone to pick from. I don't think they'll be too bad this year.
A fly through of a few other quick results. Neil O'Callaghan had a great 6 days in Croke Park. He opened his Dublin managerial campaign with a big win against Antrim on Saturday night. I think Conor McHugh, who was formerly of the Dublin Senior Footballers, is coming into the squad this year on the back of Nafina's club campaign. Obviously, Brian Ryan from Limerick is coming in there as well. Waterford looked to be, Antrim looked to be a little bit behind the 8 ball already. I was surprised. I thought they'd probably be a bit further ahead in terms of their conditioning and that under Davy Fitz. The other result in 1B was it was a good draw for Carlow in the end. Martin Cavan ended up with 12 frees against Offaly. It was 19 points to 116. Offaly probably left a point behind in Tullamore, I would say. The last game, we'll just go through quickly, Mull. It's obviously the All-Ireland champions against, it was a repeat of last year's league final and All-Ireland semi-final. Finished Kilkenny 23 points, Clare 21. Couple of points to note here. David McInerney went off with a hamstring injury. Thought David Conroy was very good at 11 for Clare. Paddy Deegan was up in the forwards for Kilkenny, which was an interesting one, whether that's going to be a long-term thing. Mossy Keown was brilliant, hit 5 from play. And Fionn Mackesy made his debut, competitive debut at wing-back. The Kerry man, as they call him now up there. He went off with an injury, but he looked quite comfortable from what I saw anyway, and I think wing back is his best spot, and I think if they play him there, he could make a big impact. But just quickly touching on that,
just and it's hard on the Mackesy coming in, like people have to realise too. And look, we've had it. We've even in my own county, Andy Maloney, Brian Flannery, Jack Fagan, great servants to Waterford hurling, but you have to kind of put yourself in their position where they're under the microscope. Everyone is, there's probably some people out there, I wouldn't say hoping you'll fail. I'd say to come back and say, oh well, look, he's not good enough, draw the line under him. So particularly for a chap like, I wouldn't say there's a bit of snobbery to kind of Kilkenny and what's a Kerry hurler.
There's a little bit, John. There is a little bit.
Yeah, there probably is. But this lad is a top player. Like he's proven it with Kerry. I mean, if he was in Waterford, he would possibly start wing back for Waterford, no problem. And no one would blink or blink an eyelid out of it or make any big issue out of it. And so you've kind of got to put yourself in his position. He's coming in now every time he goes out, whether it be a challenge match or a league game or whatever. The pressure he's under to go out and deliver. And I really, really, really applaud him the weekend. I really thought he, had a really, really good debut Sunday. Albeit he went off injured, and I think Derek Ling is a shrewd man. He wouldn't have him in around there if he didn't think he was good enough. And by all accounts, he's a great lad to train. Great lad to have in around the camp. So yeah, I think it's a big find for the Cats. And if he doesn't, now look, he's going to have it all to do to break into any Kilkenny 15, but. Hey, look, we've seen now that it's no longer a 1 to 15. You need a backup, and you need to have 6 or 7 guys that you can, well, albeit even 8 or 9 guys that you can trust on to call off the bench, and he'll be right in the mix. And I was very, very impressed by him. And you touched on one lad there, Mossy Keown. I mean, Mossy Keown. I mean, go back to a couple of years ago when Mossy Keown first came on the scene. He was kind of. Maybe I'm being a bit, not saying unkind to him, but he was kind of a, I wouldn't say a mulligan or a player, but, he was kind of a lad that would get on a ball, break up the play, bring others into the game. But his hurling has just gone on to a totally, totally different level now. Like, it's some of the scores he was picking off, and, considering off the back of where he was 3 or 4 years ago, I mean, he's becoming a really, really top player. And, you had it. Donnelly last year was the same. He kicked on to another level. And we're seeing now as well that Mossy Keown is, probably going down the same line, the same route as Donnelly, and he's going to become a real key player and a top player for the Cats, this year.
Great stuff, Mull. I look forward to your column on Saturday. I think it's Limerick focused ahead of their first game of the year, and we will talk soon. Good man. Thanks a million.
You're welcome, Verney.